I don't know if you can hear me yet, guys. I'm dealing with a... There we go. How's everyone doing tonight? Happy Friday to all. I should have taken these off. I can't read who's here. I know we got Chuck and Kirk Maxon. How you doing, Chuck and Kirk? Good to see you guys. Magneto, Doug Owen, Boris the Piper, Joseph Tamanini. Hope I pronounced that right, Joseph. JMZ56, Paul the Piper, Bona Piper. I think I already hit Boris. Philadelphia Piper, Rob Sharrett, Pipes and Bees, Piper on the 45, Kilted Piper Steve, Armchair Piper, Joffrey Feinberg, Double A Pipe Man, Ron H, Yardism, good to see you, buddy. Big Dave, Rob Austin, lots of folks in the chat room tonight. Piper Rick, WKR Piper, Wisconsin Woodsman, Rob Van Aschotten, Ron Hardcrackers Ward. Howdy, Ron. Good to see all you. Hope you've all had a great week, and looking forward to a nice, at least for many of us, long weekend, with this being Memorial Day this coming Monday. So, I spent too much time saying hello and I let my pipe go out. So what we got today, Signalman Tony, how you doing? Newton Piper. Yeah, Double A Pipe Man. This is actually an olive wood pipe from Carl, olive wood piper. And I am, let me get it lit again. Smoking Kentucky Piper. Big Dave. Don't know if I said hello to you yet or not, but you don't mind if I say hello twice, do you, Dave? So, olive wood pipe. This is Carl's take on the author shape. And if you don't have an olive wood pipe, these things just love burley. It's like the cob burley combination. I really like this pipe a lot. So if you want one, get in touch with Carl, olive wood piper. Does some really nice work on them. And I'm smoking this little bugger that's been causing all sorts of chatter. And it's okay. Sunny and breezy in southern Arizona, 93. Good to hear that, Doug. Doug's saying that Northwest Pipe Smoker is in good spirits, even though he was laid off. I saw he put out a video early this morning or this afternoon, and yeah, he seems to be in very good spirits. So that's good to know. Paul, you're smoking. Are you smoking Rustica? Doug's saying it made him cross-eyed. I'm just not getting anything from it other than tobacco flavor, and it's got a little bit of a I was thinking it was a floral note, and then my friend Tamper Tantrum pointed out to me that it might be cinnamon, and it is actually a cinnamon floral note. But I'm not, in terms of nicotine, it just seems like any other tobacco to me. But I'm not very nicotine sensitive, so. And I did have this lit up while I was getting things ready here, so this may not last too long. Philadelphia Piper's got a Series 3 Savinelli Volcano with Haunted Bookshop. Good stuff. Paul, I've tried to dry it a bit, and it doesn't make much of a difference to me. I can get it going right out of the tin. Meerschaum Mountaineer 304, good to see you. Doing fine here. Hope you're doing well as well. I'll take some rain. We had some rain today, but I'll take more. Yeah, definitely, Doug. It might be one of those full meal kind of. Probably not a first thing in the morning smoke for a lot of guys. Ochoita, good to see you, buddy. Donald Hughes from Houston. Good to see you, Donald. 96 on the border between Baja and California. Probably a nice place to be right now, Piper Rick. CJP Pipe Rescue. Wisconsin Woodsman's got a full tin of vintage velvet rehydrating. That's going to be a nice surprise when it's done. RC Sands with some nightcap. Sounds good, Jim. 701 with some Best Brown number 2. That's some good tobacco too there, Tony. Ralph Lauro, how you doing, buddy? And the Simplex. Piper on the 45, trying Bengal slices white. I've never had Bengal slices white. Is that... I like Bengal slices. PBR Street Gang. Picture perfect day in eastern Massachusetts. Monty 53 Piper. Stephen Skip Kane, good to see you guys. Be careful, WKR Piper. He's the guy behind you with the big blue wrench. Yeah, I'm seeing all these 90s and 95s. A friend of mine is in Arizona, in Tucson, and she ordered a bunch of landscaping rock that needed to be moved, and apparently it broke 100 the day that she was trying to move the stuff, and was not a pleasant experience. So we're having some hot weather there. We've cooled off quite a bit. It's comfortable. It's not cold, but yeah, we got a break from that heat we had last weekend. Tonight's beverage, by the way, Werner's Ginger Ale. Good stuff. And it's got a fair amount of bourbon mixed in. Rob's asking about pipes made out of ebony or cocobolo. They probably burn too easily, Rob. And some of those more exotic woods, I don't know about those two, but some of them have some significant oils in them that can be kind of nasty. Yeah, you could still call it a ginger ale, Christian. And it is a fair amount. The name of the drink is, so it's Werner's Ginger Ale, but it's got bourbon in it, so I guess it's a highball, although a highball is usually, well, yeah, it's a highball. I'm not going to confuse myself. I am the world's worst bartender. So. Oh, is that made in Michigan there? Double A Pipe Man? I knew it was famous for being exported from somewhere, but I didn't know where it was. Jack, any Burley at all works well on this pipe. A lot of Haunted Bookshop, a lot of Carter Hall. Yeah, Smoking Kentucky Piper. That's a good point. A lot of those tropical woods, rosewoods, you can have really bad allergic reactions to them. WK Piper's asking what the bourbon is. It is actually a local, so a restaurant that's actually right around the corner from us has a house bourbon, and they have several. All of their spirits are house spirits from a local distillery, and they we were doing a takeout order from them a couple weeks ago, and it's a small restaurant, so we're trying to be as supportive as possible. So they were selling bottles, ridiculously overpriced. So this is the local restaurant bourbon. Yeah, I do often have rye whiskey with ginger ale, Monty. That Monty 53. That's rye whiskey. I drink a lot of Irish whiskey too. 92 in Puerto Rico during the day. That's warm. Yeah, Jim, that's my problem. I'm an excellent bartender if you want to get drunk fast. I just I figure about 50-50 mix of ginger ale bourbon should about do it. Nothing wrong with cheap wine there, Step and Skip. Hot Wings 326, good to see you. Bobby Moog. Polish Piper. If you're asking me for a Manhattan recipe, I don't even know what a Manhattan is. It's one of those red drinks that I think it is anyway. I'm not a very big cocktail guy. I recently started drinking. I like tonic water, so I make gin and tonics in the summer. I didn't have any gin, so I made a bourbon and tonic the other day and enjoyed that. But that's about it. I know Piper Rick. I know what Clamato is, but I'm not going to touch it. Yeah, WKR Piper, it's important to do that, especially now. We really enjoy eating at this restaurant, so, paying, I think it was like $60 for this essentially generic bourbon, was not going to have been 60. It was probably closer to 40. But anyway, to me, it was worth it because I know it's going to help them stay in business, and I want to be able to go there again, so. Kirk Maxon has some Amphora Original. That is good stuff, Kirk. Warm Clamato? Oh, I don't even want to think about it, Ron. Oh, that's a good sign, Smoking Kentucky Piper. Local tobacco shop opening up. Ah, there we go. Doug's got the recipe for a Manhattan. Bourbon, sweet vermouth, bitters, and a maraschino cherry. Yeah, I don't like sweet that much. WKR Piper's putting another point on his score sheet. I didn't know you were keeping score there, buddy. So we do have a guest tonight. Wasn't sure last week, but was able to, Chad Yardism graciously offered to be on the show and was able to schedule him for tonight. So we're going to be calling him in a couple of minutes. I don't think I had a chance to update the description, but I will put Chad's channel down there, although you can see him. He's one of the moderators here, and check out his channel if you don't know him. Give him a sub. He's got some great content. He's been doing some really interesting stuff with music. He sometimes does some really cool historical type stuff. I mean, we'll hopefully talk about all this. And he's doing a lot of live streaming, and some fun live streaming with trivia and things like that. I can never seem to catch him actually live. But I like to put the replays on while I'm while I'm sitting down here in the shop sometimes. Donald Hughes, that's my recipe for a mint julep for sure. So I think well, maybe not. Maybe I got a little bit more rust to get down here. So I'll probably be switching pipes and tobacco while we're talking to Chad. And because somebody's going to ask, got a Briar Spirit pipe I call Janice. You can figure out why. And it is going to be filled with some Haunted Bookshop. Steph and Skip have a question. Females want to entertain, whereas males want to share knowledge. Huh? Why not? Buckeye Piper. Good to see you, buddy. Well, you know, it's an interesting thing. I've always found when guys get together, we tend to talk about things we do. We don't really talk a lot unless we're doing something, and that's always interesting. You know, you put a group of guys together in a room with nothing to do, they're going to just sit there quietly. You give them each a fly tying vise, or give them each a block of wood and a plane, and all of a sudden you got conversation going on. We're just doers, and I guess when we can't be doing something, we like to share what we can do. Well, Doug, at least you're still using a glass. Oh, don't worry, Christian. They'll just assume that I'm lying. Mel Torme of the pipe world. Well, thank you, Bobby. I was a big Mel Torme fan. Still am a big Mel Torme fan. Well, guys, let's. We got a pretty good number in now, and let's go ahead and see if we can get Chad on the phone. I'm really looking forward to talking to him tonight. Oh, there he is. Hey, Chad, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. So thank you for agreeing to be on tonight. We're all looking forward to getting to know you a bit better.
Yeah, my pleasure. Been wanting to do this for a while. Every date you threw out, it was just something that didn't work. But
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I mean, it was kind of quick getting you in here, but I'm glad it worked out.
yeah,
So you having a pipe this evening?
I am. I'm having some Old Joe Grant and a late Mar Briars Aristocrat.
Very nice.
One of my favorites. It's an all-week go-to for me.
Yeah. There's if I wasn't spending so much time smoking Haunted Bookshop, I'd be smoking a lot more of Old Joe Krantz. It's good stuff. For sure.
I'm the same way. I just bought 2 pounds of each.
Mm-hmm. And they both get much better with a little bit of age, so that's fantastic.
Well, I can't speak to that because it rarely has a chance to age around here.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't take long, just about a month. So hopefully with 2 pounds of each, you'll get to that with one of them.
We'll see.
Let's see. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? I mean, we all know you from your YouTube channel and your live streams and everything, but just give us like the 5-minute story of yours.
Well, I'm overweight and balding. Go ahead and get that out of the way.
And honest.
Born and raised in Alabama, which confuses a lot of people when I tell them I'm from California. The accent throws them off. I moved out here when I was 32, so I've been out here for 20 years. And as far as my past, I worked in management type jobs, retail, food industry, things like that. So I've been out here 20 years, worked a few various jobs, and basically I'm medically retired. I had some problems with my back, a few surgeries and things like that. So I stay home and homeschool the kids and smoke pipes all day, pretty much.
That doesn't sound too terrible.
Yeah, it could be worse.
Yeah. And I guess these days there's quite a few guys homeschooling their kids and smoking pipes all day. So you're in a larger group now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, as far as I got into pipes, typical story of the YouTube pipe smoker. I was a cigar smoker for years. I gave that up for a while, and I ran across some videos on YouTube where someone was smoking a pipe, and that led me down the rabbit hole. And said, man, I want to give that a try. So I bought a couple of corncob pipes. I bought a tin of Elizabethan mixture, Frogmorton Cellar, and a bag of Old Joe Krantz, and went to it.
Wow. That's a different story than we often hear. You skipped over the goopy Middleton Cherry.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've wanted to like aromatics, and I never found any that I could really enjoy. There's a few that have like that brown sugar, honey, molasses kind of flavor that I can enjoy, but very few and very far between.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. But that's I guess being a cigar smoker, you could transition more easily into things like Old Joe Krantz, for example. Cigarette smokers would probably have more of a problem there.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, I smoked cigars for probably about 8 years before I stopped, and then there was probably about a 16-year layoff before I got into pipes. And I still enjoy cigars. I just can't afford them for the most part. But when I can, I pick up a few here and there. I don't have a humidor or anything.
So you still enjoy a cigar occasionally?
Yeah, I probably have a cigar or two. Usually when I buy them, I'll buy like 4 or 5. But it's usually maybe every 2 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
And did I lose you, Chad? You still there?
Say that again?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I lost you. Do you when you buy your cigars, do you buy the same cigars? Like, do you have a favorite, or do you try new things each time?
I'll usually buy 2 or 3 of my favorite old trusted ones, and I'll ask the guy that works in the shop where I get it. I'm pretty good friends with him. I'll say, I really like this flavor profile. I want something heavy. I want something dark. Give me a couple of suggestions. And he's usually been pretty spot on with giving me stuff that I like.
Ah, cool. That's good. So over time, you can expand that few that you rely on, and that they don't all last forever either. So you got to sometimes find a replacement.
Right. Typically, that I grab. I like Macanudos a lot, and I like Monte Cristos quite a bit. Those are usually the two that I grab that I know I'm going to like. And then every now and then I'll reach out and grab, something that I've heard of or heard other people smoking, or just to give something else to try. I saw somebody ask if I put them in a pipe. I've never done that.
Yeah, that was I'll do that sometimes with the nub of the cigar if it's a particularly good one. And it's funny, there are people that say they do it all the time, and there are people that are just shocked to see it. So.
Yeah. I usually stab it with my pocket knife when it gets down towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done that as well. When it's good, you just don't want it to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about your YouTube channel? What got you started on that, and what your sort of philosophy is on videos, that kind of thing?
Well, I've had a channel since YouTube was around, actually since before they sold it to Google. And I used it to put up family-oriented stuff, like videos for my parents to see and stuff like that. Videos of the kids learning to ride their bike and those kind of things. And I always wanted to do something more with it, but I never really knew what. And when I ran into the YouTube pipe community, I said, that's it. That's what I want to do. And the first video I made was a VR to Padre Piper.
Ah.
And I just went from there. And as far as like the philosophy of my channel, it says in the description, it lists about 15 different things. This channel is about, music, history, pipes, and anything else I find interesting. And that's pretty eclectic for the most part. But I guess it's been about 2 years since I've started doing lives. And there were a couple of guys that would do a live here and there. And I thought, I want to give that a shot. And first time I tried it, I just fell in love with it. It's, I find it more interesting than doing videos in general because there's that interactive aspect to it. And I've gotten to know a lot of people really well through doing these live. And I think it's just a fantastic way to interact with people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I have not been doing them anywhere near as long as you have. And to be honest, looking at them from the outside, I never quite understood it. But that interaction really is something unique. And it's such a great group of people to interact with.
Yeah. I've had a couple of constructive comments from people around the world. They're saying how sometimes they're not enjoyable after the fact. And they listed a few suggestions of things we might do and stuff like that. And I kind of took that to heart because I don't know that I would want to go back and watch one of my live streams after the fact. But I've had quite a few people say that they can't catch them and that they watch them while they're on their break at work or something, something like that. And, if they can enjoy them, that's great, I guess. But it's really that moment when you're doing them and cutting up with people and sharing information. And I mean, I've had some that have gone deep down the rabbit hole. I did one over 4 hours.
Wow.
The conversation just turned to a pretty serious subject. And this gentleman was asking, he was genuinely seeking knowledge on a particular subject. And there were probably 7 or 8 of us in there interacting with him for quite some time. That was a really interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the rest of the stuff on my channel, like it's kind of all over the place. I tend to go through these phases where I'll do. I was going through a point where I was doing historical things. I've done things relating to the military and service, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through different musical things. I used to do top 10 lists. But this latest thing I'm doing is I've gone back through all the music that's been around since I've been alive and trying to weed out what my favorite album was from each year. And that's been quite an undertaking.
Yeah, I've caught some of that. It's really cool. It's a very different, unique idea, and you're doing a great job with it. You clearly you enjoy music. You seem to be quite knowledgeable in that area.
Yeah. Well, I have to be completely forthcoming. I stole the idea from another YouTuber, but he does a little different. He's not nearly as long-winded as I am either.
Well, you're doing it in long format then, so it's completely different.
I did one, but when I got through making the video, I looked at it. It was like an hour and 15 minutes long. I had to edit that one down. I think I got it down to like 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I stumbled across, there's a couple of channels. Yours in particular, I didn't stumble across your channel, but this thing that you're doing right here where you're interacting with people, conversations with,
Mm-hmm.
and then also Kyle, the guy that runs the Pipe Bulls channel, he does one in a video format that he also does a podcast with, and I've been on that one with him as well. Well, this week I discovered how to do Skype calls and record them, so I'm thinking about jumping in this style of thing as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think it
Yeah, I'm going.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I'm going to put a video out sometime next week, kind of introducing the idea and seeing how people take to it.
Yeah, I think it's great because it just adds another dimension to what you were saying about the interaction in the live streams.
Yeah.
And in this case, that interaction continues. The folks in live, sometimes I glance up at the conversation in the chat room while I'm talking to someone, and I realize that they're off on a completely different set of topics, but that's okay. They're having a good time. It's like being at a pipe club and maybe not listening to the guy that's been brought in as the speaker, but just, enjoying the company.
Yeah, that's true. I give you credit. You keep up with the comments as well as anybody that I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that because that's one of my worries is that I don't do that well. So that's really nice to hear.
Once you get up around 30 or 40 people in the room, it can be a challenge, but there's very few that slip by you, at least unacknowledged.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. One thing I did want to ask you about is you mentioned history, and you have done some really cool history videos. I remember you were doing something on the Federalist Papers, if I remember right, that was really fantastic a while back. What drives? Go ahead. I was going to ask what drives your interest in history, but go ahead.
It's just the most fascinating thing to me. I'm very much of the opinion that we need to be students of history in order to move forward. You got to know where you came from to figure out where you're going. And I think history in general is just fascinating. The U.S. history in particular, I find really fascinating. How a country, relatively speaking, so young, has gone through the things that we've gone through and are still progressing forward. That could be argued at this point, but
yeah.
Yeah, and I also have a great deal of respect for our military, and that just feeds right into history for me. And I just find all the war stories and stuff like that fascinating. I do a lot of reading about military history and military biographies and things like that, journals that people have written. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, it is very much so. And, for better or worse, it's military action that has shaped our world. And in many cases, that comes down to the bravery of a few individuals.
Yeah. And the insanity of a few others.
Yeah.
It's really what shaped our world, especially in the 20th century. Yeah, the Federalist thing I was doing, I'm only going through 8 of those so far, but I'm just reading those, not with any commentary or anything, just putting them out there. And my idea with that was to have a spoken record of them for my kids someday. for them to be able to peruse it, you know?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I don't think it's something that's very well taught in the schools. At least it wasn't when I was a student. And it is fascinating to kind of look at how things developed from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that it's not more widely read. So yeah, having it almost as an audiobook is actually a great resource.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember being taught anything about the Federalist Papers other than they existed and they were a thing. It was just this kind of a footnote in my schooling anyway. And even things like, you know, World War One and World War Two, the only thing we were really taught about that kind of stuff in school, this was in the early 80s, was names and dates, things like that. There was no in-depth anything about it.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. That was my experience as well. And you know, just one of the things that's always puzzled me, it puzzled me back then, was World War One. You know, like the cause of World War One was never really well explained.
No, that's true. I mean, you ask pretty much anybody what caused World War One, and it's going to be Archduke Ferdinand's assassination, and not much besides that.
Yeah. And then you ask who's the Archduke Ferdinand, and nobody knows. So.
Right. But I guess I have an interest in that as well because I come from a military family. I had 7 older relatives that served in the Army, 3 of those in World War II. Then my dad and all my uncles served during the Cold War. So kind of have a connection that way. I never served. That's not something I'm really proud to say, but it's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. So another thing I've been dying to ask you about, Chad, is given your background and where you live and all that, how in the world did you become a fan of one of the best football teams to ever play?
Well, there's an interesting story behind that, or at least interesting to me. And for those of you that are in the dark, he's talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, the best football team ever to exist. Back in the 70s, I got into baseball with my grandparents. They were Atlanta Braves fans. So I became a Braves fan in about 1972. And my brother was a baseball fan, but he was more a fan of the game than any one team. And as years went by, maybe up when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, football started becoming an interest. And my brother at that point was a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Uh-huh.
So when I picked the football team to cheer on, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. Because I thought, well, Philadelphia seems cool. And I've been a lifelong fan ever since. I've never rooted for another team. That's my NFC. That's my team. And it's my NFC choice. The AFC, this will probably turn a few people off, but is the Raiders. And the reason behind that is Bo Jackson. He was an Auburn boy, and when he went to the NFL, it was the Raiders, so I started rooting for them. But I'm a Philadelphia fan.
Oh, that's really cool.
We've had 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders and the Eagles.
So that would have been back in the Jaworski days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jaworski, Carmichael, Wilbert Montgomery,
Oh, yeah.
all those great players.
Yeah, I remember that team fondly.
Yeah.
Of course,
Then my brother
Go ahead.
Patriots. I said my brother became a Patriots fan,
Oh.
so he written out of the will.
I'm sure PBR Street Gang will have something to say about that, but
That's one of the fun things about sports, and is you can have that good-natured hate for other people, and you know that banter back and forth is what makes it so much fun.
right. Right, because at the end of the day, you're not really hating the person. You're you're just hating the idea, and it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Except for Doug Owen there. He's talking about the Packers beating the Eagles. And I'll give him a pass this time. I told somebody in my live stream today, I said, I've been a lifelong Eagles fan and a lifelong Braves fan. There's nothing you can say that's going to hurt my feelings. I've heard it all.
Yeah, I can't agree with you on the baseball end of things there, but I lived in Atlanta for I guess about 6 years, and I never liked the Braves, but meeting Braves fans that frequently really made me not like the Braves.
Yeah, it's weird. I've been a fan of some of the teams that generally rise to the top of the poll of the most hated fans.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to apologize. I think we got somebody that just came to the door, and our dogs are being good guard dogs up there. So if you heard that, sorry.
No need. Oh, the voodoo there fired a shot across the bow. Reggie White.
Yeah, well, we'll give him a pass.
He was slumming when he went to the Packers.
Yeah. So, anything else you'd like to talk about before we get into some questions from the chat room?
I don't know if you have any tobacco questions or anything like that. I'd be glad to try to answer them.
I'm sure they'll come up in the chat. You're going to get asked your favorite tobacco and favorite pipe and things like that. So let's see, guys. Do you got any questions out there for Chad? I'll take a
I'm
minute.
watching as well. I'll try to pick them off as they go by. If I could have played in any band live, who would it have been? If I could have been part of the band, wow. I think it would have been fascinating. Well, this is studio. I think live, probably a more current band, and that would be Government Mule. I would love to be on stage with those guys and the creativity that's going on. As far as studio, I think it would have been absolutely fascinating to be in the Beatles studio.
Yeah, music aside, just the interactions there would have been really cool.
Mm-hmm. Paul asked if I love him, of course. Favorite tobacco, voodoo. I go back and forth between Haunted Bookshop and Old Joe Prance. Those are my all-day smokes all the time. I also love Black Double X quite a bit. Stokeby's Luxury Twist. Dunhill's Yellow Sign, I like them quite a bit. Balkan Supreme is one of my favorites. I'm pretty simple when it comes to tobacco. I don't have a huge variety. I've got a very narrow cellar.
Well, that keeps things simple and makes it easy to build the cellar.
Yeah. See, somebody else asked. Favorite tamper, that's Desert Pine Piper. Of course, I'm jaded because he sent me a tamper.
Of course.
Has to be that one. Let's see, Rob asked how I came up with the name Yardism. Let's see if there's any quick questions before I hit that one.
Favorite?
Never tried a Cuban, I'm aware of. But favorite Hitchcock movie is Vertigo.
It's a good one.
I like Bull Dark Fired, Tony. That's another favorite of mine. Okay, I just skipped past there. So, somebody, and forgive me, I asked how I got the name Yardism. That's been my nickname since the early 90s when the internet became a thing. I went to purchase a package to be able to set myself up on the internet when you had to do that. I mean, there was no online to get on to set it up back then. And when I purchased the package, the guy said, "What's your username?" I said, "Well, what's a username?" And he quickly went over it, and so I was kind of on the spot to come up with a name, but I didn't really have a nickname. And it was drawn from two things. One of it was, both of them are musically related. One of them was the Yardbirds, big fan of Page, Beck, and the other guy. Big fan of you guys, right? Clapton, yeah. That's his name. I've heard of him. And so there was that, and then it was also Charlie Parker. I was really big into Charlie Parker at that time. So I came up with the name Yardbird. And at that point on the internet, everything was kind of first come, first served. If someone else had a name on any of these services, you couldn't use it. Mm-hmm. And very soon after that, for whatever reason, Yardbird became a popular moniker. So I went through all these different variations, and I finally settled on Yardism.
Cool. And I'm glad you did that, because I would hate to think of you as Yardbird 427.
Exactly. Yeah, those were fun days back then. And I missed a bunch of other questions there. See if I can go back and grab a couple of them. Back already answered. Yeah, I'll go bowling, Odie, but I can't throw the ball anymore because of my back. Les Paul or Strat? I own a Les Paul. I've never owned a Strat, but I've equally loved them. I think if I were going to go buy a new guitar, it would be a Telecaster, though. Favorite beverage? Water and coffee. Pretty much the only thing I drink. Mainly now, I'm not really a player, but when I play, it's an acoustic guitar.
Cool. And yeah, Donald Hughes is asking acoustic or electric, so I guess you...
Yeah. I've got 4 acoustic, 3 electric, a couple of Taylor acoustics that I like to play a lot.
They're still going back and forth on the Eagles and Packers. Eagles.
Yeah,
Eagles had to go with
the
backup quarterback from the Packers as a head coach, and he led them to the Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, we're in a strange time in sports. I think in the last couple of decades, there's no. Since free agency and things like that came around, there's no dedication from players to teams or managers or anything anymore. It's just a business. Well, I can appreciate that, but I don't necessarily have to like it.
Yeah, it is.
I haven't been fishing 13 years old.
You have not been? Did you say?
It's been quite some time. My stepfather was a pseudo-professional bass fisherman, and he completely ruined it for me.
That's an interesting area, that professional fishing. It's to me, I fish quite a bit, and to me, it's such a matter of luck that I can never imagine doing it professionally.
Yeah, for me, it's a leisure activity, a family bonding type of activity, and that kind of thing. But yeah, somebody asked if I'm a musician. No, I was a wannabe musician for a number of years, but I never made it beyond that.
That's why he is.
Yeah, I can really step on that.
I'm trying to. Piper Rick is asking if you're a musician, and are you making music for your channel earlier on your live streams?
probably need to come up with something that I would find acceptable to put on there, but it's I don't have the technology and the equipment anymore to make it the way I want it. So it's very rugged sounding. I don't have any kind of a professional setup or anything, so it's just more of a hobby than anything else.
And
Yeah, that's my other big hobby was chess.
oh, there's a good one. How long have you been growing the beard?
Probably one of my most often asked questions. I typically have been growing it my whole life. I have not been trimming it for the last 4 years.
Rob, the channel name
Somebody asked
is Yardism, and I will put that in the description after the live stream.
how does my wife feel about my pipe celebrity? She's less enamored about it than I am. She absolutely detests pipe smoking.
Was she okay with the cigars, or was that a problem as well?
No, I stopped that before I met her. Or before we got married, I think it was like. But yeah, she tolerates it. I guess it's dead. Somebody asked if I went to college. I went to trade school for music engineering, and that turned into being a live roadie for traveling bands. And it never did really go anywhere.
Sure, you got some interesting stories from that, though.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. I was only out for a very short period of time, but I saw almost all 50 states and had some great experiences. I just had a blast doing that. Nothing like getting paid money to change strings on a guitar.
Yeah.
Somebody else asked me, I was going to answer.
Voodoo's asking.
Do I have a name?
Go ahead.
Do I have a name for my country gentleman? Yeah, if nobody knows, I'm sure everybody knows what he's talking about. I have that old country gentleman cob that I've had for 4 years. It's like a lump of coal.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the workhorse.
I'm sorry, you call it what?
The workhorse.
The workhorse. There you go. Is that the one you did your? Was that the no hand smoking video?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was also the very first pipe that appeared on my channel. The very first VR I did, I was smoking that pipe.
That's cool. Yeah, those country gentlemen seem to last forever. I've never seen one of them. I mean, I've got one that I have to have had for 8 years now, and it's still going strong.
Yeah, I haven't had a problem with it at all. I had a burnout in another cob that I fixed with the pipe mud, but this one has never even hinted that it was going to have a problem. I've actually had to ream that thing out about 3 times.
That's amazing. Chad held.
Somebody asked if I have a Hodger blend.
Yeah.
I haven't really delved into the over-the-counter stuff too much. The only one that I really, well, there's 3 actually that I enjoy, and I can't get 2 of them. One of them's Carter Hall. I like it just fine. If that's all I could get, I would be satisfied with it. The other 2 are from England. One of them is Condor. I enjoy that one quite a bit. And there was an out-of-production one called Big McWade Club, that is just fantastic smoke. I've got 2 pouches of that left that are about 4 years old.
I have some Condor. I haven't gotten up the nerve to try it because It is a lakeland, isn't it?
That's what they say, but I don't get that out of it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just a pleasant smoke for me. There's nothing special about it. It's not going to knock your socks off or anything, but it's just one of those blends that's been around for a long time, and there's got to be a reason for that. Somebody likes it. So I gave it a shot. I think, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting someone's name, so I'm not even going to say that. Somebody sent me some of it. I apologize if it's easily.
Oh, it's hard to keep track of those things.
It is.
I've had several people send me cigars, and the other day I was going to smoke one of the cigars in my humidor, and I realized that it was one that someone sent me, but I could not for the life of me remember who had sent it. And I felt really bad about that, but it happens.
Yeah. That's something I would tell new YPPCers. We often get asked for advice.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a logbook of what people send you and who it was that sent it to you. That's a good idea and a good way to, give them shout outs or whatever, because eventually you'll have so much stuff from so many different people that you can get it all.
Yeah, that's really excellent advice.
Carl, Newton Piper, asked me about Muscle Shoals Sound. I did have a period of time where I worked at Muscle Shoals Sound Studio, and I was an unpaid intern. I didn't really work there. One of the tasks that they gave me was to rearrange and update their tape vault. And if you know anything about Muscle Shoals Sound, it was literally between that and maybe Chess Records, Sun Records, or Sun Studios, and Chess Studios, like one of the three big studios in the 60s and 70s. And a who's who of rock and roll came through that place. And I got to sit there and investigate and inspect and put all these old master tapes in order and all that stuff. I mean, people like Dylan and Stone, tons of people. It was really, really experience.
Oh, that must have been really cool.
Yeah, I had a real good time. But the Wrecking Crew voodoo was L.A. Muscle Shoals was the Swampers.
We'll do a last call for questions. Anybody got a burning question for Chad before we let him go?
Yeah, I have had that St. Bruno bug. I enjoyed it well enough. I didn't buy any more of it, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah, I've got some St. Bruno as well that I haven't opened yet. I've got a real Lakeland fear that I have to try to overcome.
I don't mind Lakeland. They're in moderation, and it's been 6 or 8 months since I've smoked it. It's not something that I like to experience often, but I can enjoy it.
Oh, that's good. There's a good.
I'm just laid back. I try not to stress about anything. Favorite YouTuber? I'll answer that outside of the pipe community. It's a guy named Rick Beato. He's a music producer, and he does a ton of really great music stuff.
Oh, cool. That's hopefully some folks will go check that out because it's good to look outside of the pipe community sometimes. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
I'll tell you another one that you turned me on to quite a while back. I don't remember the guy's name, but he's a professor that kind of looks like the stereotypical crazy mad scientist, and he does video of the periodic table.
Yes.
I've used his video series often in teaching my kids.
Yeah, he does a really nice job with it, and works in some experiments and stuff. I cannot remember his name either. Martin Polikoff, I think it was.
No, yeah, Mark. He's an interesting fellow.
Yeah, well,
Somebody asked my favorite era for music. My favorite era for music is what I'm going through right now, from about 67 to 77.
it was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. People asking different questions about music. There's very little music that I don't or can't enjoy. I'm not a big fan of the whole hip hop rap stuff, and I'm not a huge fan of opera. But outside that, I can enjoy and find beauty in just about any kind of music.
Oh, that's very cool. It's good to be open-minded like that. It opens you up to a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you find connections between them as well. Like,
Oh yeah.
I don't admit this very often publicly, but I'm actually a big Grateful Dead fan, and I like jazz a lot. And it's amazing how much jazz I hear in Grateful Dead. And it's just really cool when you can make those connections, I think, across the genres.
Well, not only that, but you also hear a lot of country, especially like 50s era country, and a lot of bluegrass and folk stuff in their music as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And even classical influences. I mean, Bill Lesh came from a classical background.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, we've crossed over 9 o'clock, and I think the questions have kind of petered out a bit, and we've hit on just about every topic I could imagine talking about at this point. So I really have enjoyed it. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and I know the guys in the chat have. Great. Well,
I just want to say how much I appreciate you and your channel and this whole thing that you're doing. I think it's a magnificent addition to the community. And I would highly encourage anybody that's interested to get in touch with Mike. Give it a shot.
Great. Well, thank you, Chad. I really appreciate that. And highly recommend any of you guys that are not familiar with Chad's channel, go check out Yardism. And again, I will put a link below after this live stream so that you can connect to him through this video. So
I appreciate that.
Sure thing, Chad. Well, thank you very much. It's been great, and you have a good evening.
You as well. Thanks a lot, everybody.
All right, bye now.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed that, guys. It was interesting chat. Boy, comments go by quickly. Yeah, we're still talking about different types of music. That's great. Yeah, it was a great chat. I enjoyed that. I like it when these go beyond the pipes and tobacco. Not that the pipes and tobacco aren't interesting. I mean, that's why we're all here. But certainly when we're talking to somebody that we kind of know, like Chad, because he's got such a YouTube following, it's nice to go outside of that a bit. So you guys want to hang out for a bit more? I'll pack the pipe again. Yeah, variety is the spice of life, Newton Piper. You got that right. And that's the truth, Piper Rick. It does lend itself to conversation far outside of what's in your pipe. Good night, Chuck. Thanks for joining us tonight. Capno, let me get my glasses on so I can get the name right here. Capno89 popped in from Australia. Well, thank you for that, Capno. Good to see you. Kilted Piper Steve, have a good evening. Glad you got to join as well. Take care of yourself, and I hope the hiatus is for good things. Piper on 45, are you asking me if I've had it, or are you telling me that you've had it? I have had Warhorse Bar, and I like it. Hey Rob, glad you like the camo stem. Corvette Jim's getting out the ring of fire. All right, Voodoo, you have a good night. Tony, I don't know what my plans are for this weekend. It's a long one, so I'm looking forward to that. Still got a lot of yard work to do. I didn't get half of what I wanted to get done last week because it was so darn hot. I just hope the rain holds up. We got some rain today. Yeah, Piper on the 45. I have had Warhorse Bar. I enjoy it. Todd A., have you promoted me to King? I have tried the Rustic. I was actually smoking that at the beginning of the show tonight. What I said is I'm conflicted about it, to be honest. It's good. I like the Rustica. It provides a little bit of a cinnamony floral note to the tobacco, but it's not really special in my opinion. I wouldn't seek it out. It reminds me a lot of Samoy. I said that on Saturday. And when I'm smoking it, I'm kind of thinking I want to be smoking Samoy. It is good to be King, Ron. Oh, Tony, did you get that already? That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Chris62154. Look forward to seeing you on Friday nights. Good deal, Tony. Glad you like it. Have I tried to ruin the H&H Rustica yet? Not sure what you mean by that, Todd. I just mentioned I'm not finding it all that impressive. Could you make a stem from silver? You mean silver metal or like a silver colored acrylic or something like that, Paul? I think the answer is yes to both. I don't think it would be very comfortable if it was the silver metal. I saw someone earlier ask if there were any Todd, I've answered that question repeatedly now. Yeah, it would definitely not be for clenching. I saw somebody earlier ask about replacements for forever stems, and not to make a commercial here, but I do make cob replacement stems. So if anybody is desperately looking for one, you can get in touch. I'm thinking about doing a batch. I've got a lot of pipes right now, so I got to get through those, but I'm thinking about trying to do a batch for the 4th of July. And I'll leave it to your imagination to wonder what that might look like. Tony, this is a pipe made by Briar Spirit, who is not around anymore. He was a artisan pipe maker from the UK. And it is, you can see it's quite different, one side versus the other. Yeah, I liked his pipes a lot. I've got 4 of them, I think. Christian, I think the reason for that is money. When you're used to buying, and this is something I struggle with the replacement stems. When you're used to buying a corncob pipe for $10, it's hard for a lot of people to think about putting out $40 for a replacement stem. And I understand that, and I don't think a company could really exist if that was their business plan. Sea smoke pipes, I've thought about it, but only from the standpoint of playing with the engineering, like trying to better understand how the pipes work. I like the restoration stuff. I like saving pipes for people. That's what really got me into it. It's rusticated on this side, Tony, but it's smooth on this side. That's why I call it Janus, and I won't explain that. You'll have to figure it out. Yeah, Doug, I've seen that Per Jensen video. That was very good. And I think you're right. I mean, they weren't really looking for commercial success. They didn't. This is not going to be a continued thing for them. But talking about the Rustica, it was just a limited edition, and it's great that we had a chance to try it. So I do appreciate that. Yeah, Tony, it is. I'll show you a page. It's a nice looking flake, and typical of the HH line of flake tobaccos. A little moist. I don't find it necessary to dry it, but I have dried it. Probably worthwhile drying it a bit. It'll smoke easier. No, oh, now I understand why Chad's asking Joplin. No, it's Janus, Janus. Janus was a Roman god that had 2 faces, a face on the front, a face on the back of his head. And this has 2 faces. You asked. Oh, Peterson makes a Dr. Jekyll pipe. I'm not familiar with that sea smoke, but I'll look into it. Would have named it Harvey. Oh, I know where you're going with. I know where you're doing a Batman reference there, Piper Rick. I got you. Black rustic. Wow, Paul, that's quite a dream pipe. Tony, this was a Werner's ginger ale with bourbon. That's interesting, Doug. I can imagine it would be a bit rough. So on that note, next week is going to be a solo stream, so it'll just be me. The week after that, we've got Tamper Tantrum, and if you're not familiar with Tamper Tantrum's channel, he's one of the guys that grows his own tobacco, and he has grown and does grow Rustica. So he's probably had it straight, and can tell us a bit more about that as well. Piper Rick is asking if I've ever mixed the original James Bond martini, the Vesper martini. I have not. I've thought about it. One of the ingredients is difficult to find. It's not impossible, but it's not something you can just pick up at the state stores here, and I can't remember what that is. Interesting point about the Bond martini that I learned recently. The whole shaken not stirred thing. I don't know if any of you guys know the difference between a shaken and a stirred martini. And keep in mind this is coming from the world's worst bartender. But when you shake the martini, the idea is that the ice fractures more, and you wind up with more ice in the martini once it's poured than you would if it was just stirred. So actually, the shaken martini is a bit more dilute than the stirred one, which I thought was kind of interesting, because you don't think of Bond as the kind of guy that wants to water down his alcohol. I think with the onion, it's something different, Tony. It'll come to me. The martini traditionally has an olive in it, and when you put an onion in it, it's called something else. So you've looked for it as well, Piper Rick? You can buy it online. I've looked it up, but I never pulled the trigger on it. A Gibson, thank you, Robert. Yes, Robert Fine. The Gibson is the martini with the onion in it. And Newton Piper's pointing out that Bond has to remain sharp in the mind, so he dilutes his martinis. That makes sense. Yeah, lemon twist as well. Lillet, Kina Lillet. That sounds right, Piper Rick. And if you read the, I'm blanking on his name, Fleming novels, the way he discovers the Vesper Martini is it's actually introduced to him by Vesper, who's the sort of femme fatale of that first book. He did in the movies, Boris, but not in the books. In the movies, it was always a vodka martini. No waves of Java. I have not tried Java tobacco. Tom Collins. I've never had a. I'll tell you a story about growing up. So when I was probably like 7, 8 years old, used to spend a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and my aunts and uncles were still young enough that they were living at home. In fact, I think my uncle was still in high school at the time. But they would have parties and friends, and there'd be drinks and whatnot. And it was very popular at the time to have these Tom Collins. They came in these little cans. I remember the cans were about this big, and they had a foil tab on them that you pulled off and poured it out over ice. And you added, I think, whiskey to it. And that made a Tom Collins. And I'm sure they were terrible, but that was how they made them at these parties at the time. And I used to always get them without the whiskey, so I'd get a little can and a glass of ice, and I thought I was just the coolest kid around because I was drinking with the big kids. Thank you, Meerschaum Mountaineer 304. I really appreciate that. You have a good Memorial Day weekend and stay safe as well. Yeah, Doug, in the book, it was a gin Vesper martini, I think. But the vodka martini was more popular when the films were made, I suppose, and that's why they changed it. Oh, Chuck's asking how many pipes I rotate through during the day. Most days it's probably 2 to 3. I do re-smoke them. You see, I repacked this one and smoked it. That's never been a problem for me. On Friday, I usually have an extra 2 during the live stream. If I'm making a video well, no, if I'm making a video on Sunday, it's usually one of the pipes that I'll include. So, yeah, usually 2 or 3 pipes in a day. Coffee in the can that heated it. Yeah, Paul, I do remember that existing. I've never had it. When you open the can, it triggered something that heated the can. Tony's asking how many bowls a day I smoke. I hate questions like that. It depends on what I'm doing that day, and these days where I'm spending, 8+ hours here, because I work when I'm working during the day, I'm sitting exactly in this spot. Probably up to like 12 bowls a day, and when I'm working, when I'm actually going to work and I can't smoke during the 8-hour day, it's probably closer to 6. It was Nescafe, huh? Nescafe finds more ways to make bad coffee. Probably just offended a bunch of Nescafe fans. Nescafe, yeah. There you go, Christian. I think I finished this. Maybe a little bit more left down there. Pipes and bees, just save it up for the next time you're offended. Sanka. I don't remember if it was a C or a K. I think it was with a K. Oh, Brim. That was another good one. Yeah. I learned to drink coffee from my grandparents, and my grandmother always used a percolator, and I still use a percolator today to make coffee. And it was always great coffee. And as they got older, there was just this health thing where you were supposed to switch to decaf, and they switched to decaf and they started drinking Sanka, instant Sanka, and it was always so sad to go visit them because I would be expecting this wonderful coffee that she used to make, and it would be Sanka. And Maxwell, I can't stand Maxwell House, Christian. It's got an off taste to me, and I'm pretty tolerant of coffees in general. I don't like the over roasted like Starbucks stuff, but I'll drink like gas station coffee. It doesn't bother me. But Maxwell House, I immediately can identify Maxwell House. It's just got this weird off taste to me. Folgers is okay. I drink 8 o'clock. Is what I usually drink. Hey, Couch, good to see you, buddy. No need to be sorry for being late. We're just happy to see you. Maxwell horse. That's good. Maxwell mild. I don't know what that would be, Paul. Maybe they took out that off taste that I was referring to. Funniest childhood memory. Tony, that's a good question. I had a lot of funny childhood memories. Let me think for a bit. Dishwater. Tell you what, Tony, I'll give it some thought, and for the solo stream next week, I'll tell a couple of funny childhood memory stories. Because I'm not coming up with anything right now. I'm kind of running out of steam, to be honest. Pipes and peas, that's hilarious. Couch has kind of a story. Couch is in the process of relocating, but he is planning to start a YouTube channel in the not too distant future. So you should all go subscribe to Couch just to give him a little bit of encouragement. Your grandfather smoked cherry pipe tobacco, rolled it up in toilet paper and smoked it. That must have been interesting, Couch. Oh, Folgers doesn't make whole bean anymore. That's a shame. Yeah, I do. Actually, the 8 o'clock, I like the 8 o'clock original, but I had to cut back on caffeine a while back, and so I started drinking 50/50, and 8 O'Clock actually sells a whole bean 50% decaf, 50% original blend mix, and that's what I get, and I get it directly from 8 O'Clock. You can order it from them. I used to do a recurring order from Amazon, but they couldn't get it for a while, so I just go directly to 8 O'Clock and have it delivered. Nothing but cat videos. Oh, gosh, that would be a cruel joke. Oh, Boris, I appreciate you being up so late to watch this with us, and I hope it's a beautiful sunrise. All right, Doug, you take care. Have a good dinner. Takio's talking about Condor. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get out the Condor and give it a try. I have, and I know it's an unreasonable fear of Lakelands. I read so much bad stuff about them back when I was first starting to smoke the pipe that I really never gave them a fair shot. Now this is done. And we've passed 9:30, folks. So I will drain my glass and wish you all a good evening. I will be making a video on Sunday, so I look forward to seeing you then. And I will see you next Friday. So I hope you all can join me then. We'll have some fun. Thanks for stopping in tonight. It's always good to see you all. So you take care of yourselves. Enjoy the long weekend if you got one. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.